Do not attempt to adjust your podcast player. We are controlling the transmission. We are here to be your guide, helping you to explore local events, the art scene, music, theater, sports, and possibly a conspiracy or two. All here on the GCRX Radio and Podcast Network.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to In the Metro. I'm your host, Chuck Hill, and tonight we have a special guest coming to you live from Studio B here in downtown Granite. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the show. We are coming to you live tonight, as we do most Mondays. I can't say every Monday now because, work keeps taking me away or something like that.
Yeah,
so
it happens.
But, yeah. Anyway, we're here in Studio B, downtown Granite off Nugent House, nestled right in between Studio C and Garden Gate Tea Room. So tonight, we got kind of a bit of a special guest, sort of a reunion show, I guess, if you will. But I do want to welcome a special co-host tonight, Scott Mac McKenzie. You'll notice him over here. Some of you have seen this gorgeous face before.
Oh, it's hairy.
It is hairy. It's a little more hairy than it usually is.
A little more gray, too.
Little bit more gray, but that happens, So to my right over here, we have Danny Meredith going to be joining us. He's going to talk a little bit about tonight about their upcoming show that's going to be part of the GCRX Podcast Network. So we're pretty excited about that. And as always, we have Engineer Bill sitting here all the way to my right.
I'm here.
How you guys doing tonight?
Pretty good.
Where's the applause track?
The applause track. Well, they're clapping for us online.
Is that really?
I can hear it.
Can you?
I can hear the
You're
screams,
deaf. How
the
can you
hoots,
hear
and the
it?
hollers.
All
Oh,
zero.
I hear the screams.
all zero of them.
Yeah.
How was the weekend, guys? What did we do?
I'll let you go first.
Yeah. Pretty busy. Finally, thanks to the lovely Trina Tedder, Jesse's wife, and my sister, me and the wife were able to get away and went to Texas Roadhouse to have a nice dinner. And then we went to go see Alien Romulus.
How was it?
Oh, was it good?
Honestly, I loved it. I'm a sci-fi guy,
Yeah.
but the wife, she's a saint. She hates sci-fi. She sat through it with me, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
You don't think the Alien movies are played out yet?
I think they are,
Yeah.
but this one, I don't know, the nostalgia of it.
Okay.
And the fact that apparently the director, instead of doing CGI with the aliens, he did like the actual
Some
animatronics.
practical
and-
effects. Okay,
yeah.
awesome.
So that
Yes.
was really good.
I think that's always better because CGI is great, but it's still to a point where you can look at it and say it's fake. I mean, now
Exactly.
granted, a man flying through space and time, if you can't remove the illusion of disbelief anyway, there's something wrong upstairs. But
What are you trying to say?
Well, and you've seen the first one, right? Like the first Alien.
Oh,
yeah.
They
Yeah.
brought back. So this one was like set in between the first and second movie. They
Okay.
brought back that first android. I forgot the actor's name, but they brought back him CGI, and you could tell it was pretty
He's
bad
dead
CGI.
now, isn't he? Like the original actor?
I don't know.
Dead or no? I know.
What are we playing a game called Dead or Not? Now?
Dead or not?
What are we
That's a
doing?
new segment of the show. Dead or not?
Are they dead? Or
Dead or not?
Is it
Brought
live
to
or
you today by
Memorex?
your local funeral home.
Already off the air. It's not even 5 minutes.
Was Sigourney Weaver in this one also?
No.
No.
she was
Okay.
not.
I feel like they have left the plot of that so open in so many different ways
Yeah.
that they could probably have another 15 movies.
Kind of like the multiverse, isn't it?
Oh,
Marvel?
it's yeah. I mean, it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
it's
It's
like
never going to end.
it's like Jurassic Park. They always leave something at the end, like look what we left there.
Right.
We're coming back
Oh,
for.
look,
Right.
it's another
Right.
Or the
dinosaur.
end credit scene.
Yeah.
So anyway, you went and saw Alien Romulus.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. Very cool. What else do? Anything fun?
I mean, really, besides that and working, church, going
Yeah.
to C3GC.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sweet.
Danny's my right hand man.
Awesome.
Yeah, like
Learning
when
all the tech stuff.
he
Trying
is. He's catching on pretty good. Also, it's kind of hard for me to
Nice.
play drums and run the tech stuff, in the back. But
Is it?
just a bit.
I mean, you can't.
No, I'm not Jesse. Jesse's got his little iPad or whatever is there, and like he can run some stuff from there. But yeah, it's kind of hard to keep a beat and raise mics and
The
things
last
like
thing that you want is some stage guy that's in the band contrling front of house.
A drummer.
I always
Yeah.
seem to be,
Yeah.
I always
guys
seem to
with
be
no-
one beat
no-
off.
No beat.
So.
Excuse me?
Oh,
Oh,
Yellow flag.
Here we go. We're circling the drain
Hey,
already.
we got to start off right. So, all right, awesome. Mac, what'd you do this
There you
weekend?
go with that awesome, dude.
Hey, it's awesome and everything
Find
is
another
interesting.
word. I'm gonna give you a thesaurus.
I am a child of the 80s. Awesome is embedded.
Well,
into
where's
my
gnarly?
vocabulary.
Where's rad?
Rad pops out every once in a while.
Well, you need to keep it put away, okay?
I was never really a big gnarly fan, I don't know why. I just never really like cemented into my vocabulary.
I feel like gagging with a spoon right now.
Ew.
Anyway, you're talking to me?
Yeah.
You're talking to me?
You talking to me? I'm talking to you.
What did I do this weekend? I was in Chicago for Fan Expo.
I was in Chicago too, but not for Fan Expo.
How close were you to downtown Chicago?
I was at Union Station.
I'm sorry.
Yes. Yep.
You were leaving as they were coming in?
Well, I hopped the train at 5 o'clock in the morning and got there about 9:30 or so, and then hopped the train again at 5. It's actually a little quicker than driving.
Well, no, I meant as far as, because last time I took a train was 30 something years ago, but all the stops, it took about 6 hours to get there.
Yeah, no, it's only about 4.5 hours.
Do you have a lot of stops through towns?
No, not really.
Okay,
just
that
the
must be
typical
why then.
ones
Okay.
like Carlinville, Normal, Bloomdale, Springfield.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, nothing big. But anyway, Fan Expo, how was it?
It was my first one, so it was interesting. Got to meet a lot of childhood celebrity voices I grew up with.
Nice.
That are all elderly now.
Right. They have more gray than you do.
I wouldn't
I
go
should
that
say
far.
us,
Yeah.
but
No, I got to meet Frank Welker. Got a signature from my daughter on one of her plushies because she's a huge fan of Has Been Hotel, if anybody watches that.
now Frank Welker, some people don't know who that
Frank
is.
Welker did the voice of Megatron. Fred Jones from Scooby-Doo. He did Scooby's voice. He did, if you look up the filmography, it just scrolls. But those are the two that people would probably know right off the top of the bat. Peter Cullen was there, who's Optimus Prime.
I don't know why, but I really thought he died for some reason.
Would you stop?
Well,
Stop! Not! I have proof.
Here we go, back to that game again.
Yeah, I
Dead or
know.
not dead.
Dead or
Just
not.
stop. But Elizabeth Berkley was there. Mario Lopez.
Oh, really?
Ben McKenzie.
Okay, yeah.
The headliner was Mark Hamill.
Really?
He was there with Hayden Christensen.
Okay.
They actually had to move them up to their own floor because the lines were so long.
I'll bet. Did you get to go to their symposium or?
I did not, and here's why. I'm glad that you asked. Money, yes.
It had to be
$400 for an
ridiculous.
autograph for Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
$235 for Hayden Christensen.
How stupid is that? Like, how stupid is that to have to pay that much money
Okay.
for someone's autograph?
Here is capitalism at its finest. Okay, people paid it,
Well, I'm sure they did.
and if you get people to pay for it, why not ask for it?
Well, you
There's
have a
market
point.
for it.
There's a huge market for it. But who else was there? Gina Carano was there.
Really?
Yeah. Linda
Kind
Hamilton.
of a big fan.
Linda Hamilton, Robert Patrick,
It was
Jamie
kinda
Kennedy,
packed full.
Matthew Lillard.
Jamie Kennedy.
Yeah,
What is he doing now? Like, is he?
I don't know.
Is
He probably just is living off his Scream fame.
Yeah.
I think he did something on MTV or something like that at
Okay.
one time. But
Matthew Lillard, he was perfect for Shaggy.
perfect.
I mean,
The
yeah.
guy is the quintessential character actor now that Philip Seymour Hoffman is no longer here.
Yeah.
That's just to name a few. My brother got pictures with Holly Marie Combs and Rose McGowan.
Okay. Yeah. Now, have you been to Comic-Cons before at all? Or?
No, the only thing I've been to other than that was Anime STL, which is a local thing in St. Charles every April.
Right. You went there with your daughter, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been there twice. Yeah, because it
Okay.
was shut down. Well, I couldn't get in because of COVID.
Gotcha.
But that it's neat, really neat. Friday was perfect.
All
Had a
right.
few people there, just open Friday.
Yeah.
Saturday morning, 10 o'clock it opens.
Bedlam.
No, not Bedlam. Bedlam is putting it nicely.
Yeah.
The old elbows to, that's putting it nicely. You couldn't walk. You were walking like this. It was
Yeah.
that crowded.
Wow.
It's a good thing the fire marshal wasn't there. Let's just
I'll
say
bet.
that.
I've been to Comic-Con in Kansas City a couple of times, and I want to say I went to one here in St. Louis also. You know what I mean? The kids went.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a photographer's dream, especially if you're a nerd and you're a photographer, because I mean, it's awesome because there are all kinds of, people that are there, and it's funny because like some of these actors are very, very serious about getting their money before they get their picture taken, right?
I never experienced that. I did not see that once there. It was, now you had the people in line that had these like totes with them dragging.
Yeah,
I paid $1,300 up front to have them sign all this stuff.
yeah,
Guess what?
Geez.
He didn't sign everything.
yeah.
Oh, and they get mad. You've got 30 things in your tote that you want this guy to sign. Yes, you
Yeah.
paid your money, but let's have a little respect for everybody else that's been standing in line as long as you have.
What's funny, so get this. So you guys know I went to go see Debbie Gibson for my birthday last
did?
year.
Mhm.
I did. Miss Rebecca herself purchased tickets, and it was so cool. I got to do the meet and greet with her. I had
Why
four.
don't you tell everybody the fun part, Chuck?
I had four. They all know. If they watch the show, they know.
Do they?
Yeah, they do know.
What about people that haven't watched it today?
Good point.
They can watch a rerun. But no, so I had four of her trading cards, right? Like when I was younger, I had four signed ones.
Wait.
Then,
Trading cards?
yeah, man, there were these.
Were they like Tops trading cards?
I think it was Fleer, but I mean,
okay.
it's like rock and roll trading cards, right? Like rock and roll people and
Yeah.
And you
pop,
bought all
things
these
like that.
packs to find just those four?
Well, actually, so I used to have four that she had signed years ago, like back in the late 90s, right? Well, my mother in all her glory threw all my stuff out when I moved out of the house, so
Can
it's
you still call her mother?
yeah. Well, I call her mom now.
Okay.
So, but
That's
anyway, long story short, I have four cards where she would only sign three of them. She wouldn't sign all four.
Right, because it's probably
so
a set, right?
it was a set.
There you go.
So it's interesting. But like when I went to Comic-Con, Adrian Paul was there. Is Adrian Paul? Yeah, Adrian Paul, the Highlander. He was there. Sean Astin was there. It was really cool to see him. And Pam Grier was there. Do you know who Pam Grier is?
Yes.
I do not.
Okay, she was a big
In Living
actress
Color?
in the. Well, yeah, and then like during the black exploitation movies, and like she played Jackie Brown, and,
Oh, okay.
things like that. Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. So anyway, she was there also. Well, it's funny because Adrian Paul was cool because another guy who I knew was there wanted me to take his picture, and he had paid the $50 to get his picture taken. So all right, cool, I get to take a picture of Adrian Paul, the Highlander. Big fan of the TV series, right? And so then went to go see Sean Astin. And it's funny because they get paid to get their pictures taken. When I pop my camera up, I take his picture, and he's like, "Ooh," and it's funny because that's a picture I have of him with his hands up and everything. But then Pam Grier was like 2 booths over, right? And so I'm just kind of taking pictures. Her handler looks at me, gives me the meanest mug you've ever seen, and puts her hand up in front of Pam Grier's face so I can't get a picture of her. And I'm like, I don't even know who this is until I walk past and see the name tag, whatever. But it's funny, those people like very, very protective over their like Comic-Con appearances. So
Some people want the money. They're only there for the money.
I think most of them are. And Billy D. Williams, he was not a pleasant person.
No,
he was not. He was there. You got to walk up and meet him and talk a little bit, And he pretty much looked at his phone the entire time, so, oh, hey, I loved you in the Star Wars movie. Oh, yeah, thanks,
Yeah.
And that was it. It's like, dude,
I just paid how much money for this dude to like blow me off?
Yeah, I mean, thankfully I didn't have to pay to go see him.
Okay.
He's not someone I would go pay to see. I'm not really going to go pay to see anybody, person to person anyway.
Well, I did. How much did I pay? In full disclosure, it was the picture and the signature was like $70. But it's something to keep.
Yeah. No, I get it. And
I didn't mind that, but $400, that's a little excessive.
Yeah, I mean, it's I've still got the Weird Al signed picture that you and Lisa gave to me, for my birthday, which super cool. I've got it hanging up right now, so it's cool, but I don't know how much money that I would pay another human being to sign something for me.
The closest I ever got to meeting a celebrity was when I was in Abu Dhabi. I was 20 minutes from meeting Will Smith. I was at the top of the Burj Khalifa.
Oh, wow.
We had went up there, we had seen everything, and then we went back down. And he had just went up there 20 minutes later. Wow. We just missed Will Smith. And I'm like, and this is before the slap, by the way. So he was still like, oh, man.
Oh, he was so cool.
Pre-slap.
It was pre-slap. But I was like, man. And then like thinking about it, I'm like, they're just people. Like, I don't know.
They are.
Yeah, they are. They're people. They have great jobs. And here's the thing. So, okay, the Debbie Gibson thing, I'll tell everybody again.
He wept.
I did.
Like a girl.
I mean, she was like really, really important to me and very influential when I was 16. You can attest to this as to how
I
much.
don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. But anyway, just meeting her, and like she was like one of my idols back then, and just meeting her for whatever reason, I couldn't control my emotions. And it was funny because she didn't really know what to do.
Your foolish beat.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because she didn't know what to do, because I walk up, she looks over at me, and it was like,
Man.
Okay. And she walks up and gives me a hug, and everything. So, but it was cool. And she sang happy birthday to me. Like, I mean, that was pretty awesome to have one of your idols from your youth sing happy birthday to you on your 50th birthday. I mean, come on, pretty cool.
Like, who is this old guy?
Or was it just a ploy to get a hug?
Well,
This is Chuck.
So, Bill, how about your weekend?
Mine was uneventful, other than going out and doing some tech doc work with the wife, and got some stuff done around the house, and church on Sunday, of course. So, yeah,
nice,
decent.
Nice, very cool. Yes, we're still talking about Miss Gibson.
Are you being laughed at?
I am being laughed at.
You deserve every.
I am being laughed at. So, yes, so my weekend pretty much consisted of, like, we were talking about, went to Chicago on Saturday. It was completely a work day. Went up there 5 o'clock in the morning, got home around 10:30 that night.
Where'd you eat?
In Chicago? I didn't really go anywhere to eat, because it was, went to Union Station, went over to Niles, which is where our corporate office is at. Then went back to Union Station, and I grabbed a Jersey Mike sandwich for lunch. Grabbed one of the big ones, and basically had it for lunch and dinner. So. But last year, when Miss Rebecca and I went out there, we had a couple of the places. I think we ate at Giordano's.
Oh yeah, they had one in Rosemont where we were.
Yeah, was it Lou Giamatti? I don't know. It was pretty good. It was deep dish pizza.
Yep.
Pretty good. Got to go down and hang out to Pier, which that was really cool. So, but yeah. So, Danny, you're gonna join the GCRX family, huh? You and your buddy Chris.
Oh yeah.
All right. Tell us what you got in mind for us.
So basically, I was the one that kind of came up with the name. Chris co-signed it with me. We were thinking that it was going to be labeled the Shield and Cross podcast.
Okay.
And basically what our thought was on that was, we're both Marines. We're both actively in law enforcement. So that's kind of where the Shield aspect comes in. We're going to be talking about some issues with both of those communities, stuff that we've seen, our experience. And then the cross part of it is that we're both men of faith. We differ a little. He's Roman Catholic, and Chuck, you and I mean, we're kind of non-denominational, just floating out there. And I had to say, if I had to lean any direction in a denomination, I'd probably lean more Eastern Orthodox, just because of the structure. But so that's where we're coming in, and we're talking about all that stuff. My hope with it is that we can reach out to not only like law enforcement officers, but with the military guys that are getting out. I've had numerous friends get out, and they just lose that sense of purpose, and they're just kind of floating out there, and nobody's talking about their experiences or their stories. And we hope to reach those people. And we're also, like the title says, we're both young fathers. We're both trying to raise young families. So what it's like doing that nowadays. We're going to talk about that, and hopefully have a couple of really good guests on the show, and it's going to be a good time.
All right. Now, you guys are looking at pre-record, correct? Like, you guys are going to do a pre-recorded podcast?
Yeah, due to our schedules. He works, currently he works nights, and I'm just kind of floating between days and nights, usually whatever they need me to do. So it'll be easier just to have the pre-recorded show. Okay.
So what do you find most challenging in the situation that you and Chris are in right now? Because you guys are first responders, police officers, and we talked a little bit this weekend kind of about a situation, a little north of here, and I don't know if you can go into it or not or whatever. But being a man of faith and, dealing with what you deal with on a daily basis and some of the people that you deal with, and then coming home. I mean, because you've got, beautiful babies, you're another recent father, you've had another one recently. So on, like, if you're talking on a day-to-day basis, Like, how do you balance all that out?
It can be challenging. I mean, it's kind of one thing that I always do. I did it at my previous department. I do it now at my current one. I
Mhm.
always try to kiss the girls goodbye. You know, you never know what's going to happen. Kiss the wife goodbye. You never know what's
Yeah,
going to happen, and just let them know that I love them. The schedule is where I'm currently working right now. The schedule's better, but it's just something. It's shift work. It's always hard. It's hard on the body.
yeah,
I know Chris right now. He's dealing with night shift, strictly nights, and that is taking a toll
Mhm.
on him from what he tells me. So that's challenging. And then just doing the job. I mean, you see the worst of people, but there's also an opportunity there to be there and make someone's day a little bit better, their worst moment a little
sure.
bit better, handle it with a little bit of grace. As a Christian, I try to bring that to the forefront when I'm dealing with people, and not saying that I'm, evangelizing everybody that I interact with,
Hmm.
because that might not be appropriate, but I can look at them through a more human lens. Whereas from what I've seen from some officers in law enforcement, if they don't have that strong Christian background and
Hmm.
rooting in that, you can kind of get to a point where you get jaded with people, and you just start to see the worst in everybody. So you just start thinking everybody's like that. And with me, we're all made in the image of God.
Hmm.
So that's always the first and foremost thing I think about when I'm dealing with people.
So, do you find being a Christian? Do you feel that it allows you a little more grace when working with someone, whether it's a domestic dispute or if it's disorderly conduct or something like that? Do you feel that you draw on your faith a lot just to be able to offer some grace?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, there are certain every situation is different, so it depends on how the situation's unfolding that we have to handle it.
Hmm.
I would say an example would be, there's where I'm at currently, there's a guy that comes through every weekend, and there's a couple of big bars and they're always packed, and he comes through. I don't know his name, I haven't met him, but he's a Christian of some sort, and he has signs. He'll have the speaker out and he'll just be preaching the word, and people generally tend over at the bar, they don't really receive him well. They
Yeah.
scream at him, cuss at him. He recently had gotten struck in the face,
Oh, wow.
and he didn't report it. He won't report it. He takes everything with grace, and
Hmm.
he's just there to spread the word. And so, like, dealing with, like, seeing him, that kind of emboldens me a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just it's one step at a time, one call at a time. Every situation, you try to handle it the best you can,
Hmm.
and I try to interject as much of that faith as possible in those situations.
Gotcha. To see someone standing on a corner proselytizing like that and to be being attacked and to just kind of stand there and take it. I mean, that would be difficult for me, to watch someone stand there and take it. And also it would be difficult for me to just, like, if I get smacked in the face with a tomato, to essentially, like, we're told as Christians to turn the other cheek and accept the other tomato. I just don't know I can do that. So I mean, that's awesome that you have that mindset about you, and that you can draw inspiration from him, because I'm sure that there are other people that are drawing inspiration from you, dealing with what you deal with on a
Hmm.
daily basis.
Yeah, and generally we try to remain neutral, but I haven't seen him in a while. I've actually been meaning to make it a point where if he's across the street from the bar and they're yelling at him, I'm just going to go up and shake his hand, and I'm just going to thank him for what he's doing.
Yeah.
And if it makes him mad, whatever. Like, it doesn't really matter to me.
They throw a tomato at you, it's assault and battery.
Yeah. On a peace officer. So yeah, they'll get some time.
Yeah.
Assault with a tomato.
All right. Well, your show that you guys are going to be doing, uh, you mentioned is going to be kind of helping other individuals, regardless, I'm guessing, of what branch of the military, because you and your wife, I believe, are both transition Marines, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So in that message, what is some of the things that you dealt with personally during that transition? Because it's not easy. Especially, have you seen combat? Did you or your wife see
No,
combat?
we didn't see combat. We went on deployment overseas. We spent some time in the Middle East, but
Mhm.
no combat theaters whatsoever. We were over there doing field operations for the most part.
Gotcha. Okay. So what are some of the things that you have experience with? I mean, just making that transition from such a rigid regiment of discipline and branches of the military back to the real world. Like, what are some of the struggles that you and your wife kind of faced making that transition? I'm trying to see how many times I can say transition during the show.
Yeah,
so.
transition. Yeah. I mean, shoot, I don't know. There's a lot. You go from that really rigid, structured discipline to basically where, you know, you get out and nobody's telling you where to be in the morning. There's
You
no,
do what you want to do.
there's no formation. Yeah, you're just going. You know, you do what you want to do. You stay up as late as you want. And in that moment, I tried to lean on my discipline as much as I could. I'd still wake up early. I'd still work out. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to do my PT. I try to do the things like the simple things like making your bed. You know, there's a certain way you make your bed in the military. Keeping on to that, because
Can you bounce a quarter off of it?
pretty much, yeah. Because if like in doing that, there's a guy that wrote a book. I believe he was a Navy admiral. I don't know his name. I'm not going to try to butcher it, but he basically wrote a book, and in that book, he stated that like making your bed first thing in the morning, first task of the day is completed.
Yeah.
And doing those little tasks and accomplishing them is going to give you a sense of pride at the end of the
Sure.
day that'll lead to the bigger tasks that you need to do. I try to do stuff like that, but it was hard. I mean, especially with the jobs, you get I got out not intending to get out. I kind of got out. I don't know if I talked about it the last podcast due to the COVID vaccine.
Mhm.
They separated me for that. I still got my honorable discharge, but so I got out a whole, I want to say 2 years ahead of schedule. So
Okay.
It was really hard for me because I didn't really have a plan. I mean, I
Yeah.
had my CDL, but that was pretty much the only thing I had going on me at the time. So I got out and I had a lot of jobs. I was a garbage man for a little while. I was
Sanitation engineer.
sanitation engineer. Yeah. I was a salesman for Woods Basement Systems. I was a hazmat cleanup technician.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was definitely like, and then I ended up in law enforcement, but losing that sense of purpose that you had, that was like the biggest thing. And that's what I've seen a lot of guys struggle with, is just losing that sense of purpose. Thankfully, my Christian faith, I have that as my main purpose.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel it as hard as some people do, but some guys, they just get out and they feel like they don't have anything else to live for. Like they've reached the peak. And then that's why we have the 22 a day that we do.
Gotcha. So Mac, you were naval or
Mhm.
Navy. When you went through your boot camp training in that, do they call it boot camp in the Navy?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I don't want to be offensive to anybody, so
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Mr. PC.
those who watch the show know better than that.
Yeah.
But did you, when you were out of boot camp, I mean, you were there for a little while and you were Naval Reserves.
It's different. And it's different in the respect that since I went straight reserves,
Mm-hmm.
I got out of boot camp, went to AT, apprenticeship training.
Right.
And then I went home. I mean, there was literally, not being transferred to a unit
Mm-hmm.
or a company and having to do the daily tasks that they do. I literally went home and went back to working and did my drill once a month.
Mm-hmm.
So, and comparing any experiences I had to any experiences he had are going to be worlds apart.
Sure, and I understand that, but I mean, even when you're dealing with any branch of the military and you go into it, you never know what's going on up inside someone's head.
You don't.
And I don't think it matters if it's reserve. I mean,
boot camp's boot camp,
right? But I'm sure it matters a little bit. But there's still there's still an experience there. And I mean, your life is still going to be changed. I mean, I'm sure that your life is miles different. Danny, I'm sure your life is miles different from what it was before you went into the military.
Absolutely.
And even you, Mac, when you were, when you high school to boot camp or whatever. I mean,
there was a time frame there, but
but I mean, it still changes you.
It does
a little bit.
It definitely changes your mindset.
Yeah. So some of the topics that you guys are going to cover, Danny, are you looking more at just like transitioning from the day to day, or are you looking more at the mental health aspect of it, because as you know, suicide rates among soldiers is astronomical.
Mhm.
I mean, it's insane how high the suicide rates are, particularly those who have seen, overseas combat, or I think you guys call it theater.
Mhm.
You know, so like, what are some of the biggest things that you feel are are most important for you to tackle?
Shoot, yeah. I mean, we could do probably a whole week of
Mhm.
episodes on the suicide rate
Mhm.
amongst military and law enforcement officers combined. I mean, that's a huge problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're going to talk about transitioning out, what that's been like for both of us. It's been wildly different for the both of us because our experiences have been different.
Right.
We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about kind of what we experienced while we were in. One of the things that really was profound to me when I got out, and I told all of my junior Marines this. I was a sergeant, so I had at one point roughly 30 people under me. I was one of their direct supervisors, and I would always tell them while I was in, they'd complain about the barracks, right?
Yeah.
Barracks suck. We get it. You're in a little 1-by-1 room with someone else.
Mhm.
But I would always try to impart to them that when you get out, if you do get out, you're like, right now, everybody's here and we're all living in the crap together. And you can kind of draw strength from that and camaraderie from that, because we would have these thing called smoke pits where we'd go out and we would all bring speakers and, alcohol or whatever. We'd have a party even when we didn't have money to go out on the town or anything.
Right.
That kind of thing you're not going to have when you get out. Your life could suck when you get out, and your buddy's life could be great. And, it's just going to be a totally different world from when you're in. And I've seen a lot of guys, and that's their biggest complaint when they get out, is they don't have camaraderie anymore. And that's where that just despair sets in of
Okay,
being
that
alone.
loneliness. Yeah. So I've got a friend that was ex-Army, and he had a really difficult time transitioning when he got out, to the point that he was determined to kill himself. Like, that was his mission, and unfortunately, he succeeded. He tried to do it once, and he didn't succeed. So he was put into an Army hospital, and he ended up hanging himself with the sheets from his bed. I mean, it is a very difficult thing to transition from, and I think that you've kind of hit the nail on the head with the family aspect of it, because some of these guys go into the military because they don't have family that they can depend on. They need a family, or they need something that they're looking for. They get in, they do their 4, 6, 8, 20 years or whatever, and then they're kind of out there. And let's be honest, our government doesn't take great care of these guys once they get out, and that's unfortunate.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's a very important topic to discuss, for sure. Has that affected you directly, in any aspect of it that you can draw experience from?
I would say for me, like one thing that made my transition easier was the fact that I had my wife and kids, because I did not have, like, I am a man where I'm taking care of my family. I didn't have time to sit here and just kind of like, woe is me, my life
Yeah.
sucks. It's like I got to figure something out because I got mouths to feed. So that was a big thing for me, and it helped me. Having them in my corner helped me. A lot of the guys that I knew that got out, they were single, so they got out, they went back home. They no longer have their friend group,
Mhm.
and pretty much they just got a job, because that's what you do. You just get a job and work it.
Yeah.
And drink every weekend, the same kind of thing that you would do. But they didn't have that support system there for them. We kind of make a joke of it, at least in the Marine Corps. I don't know how it is in the Navy. I assume it's the same. You kind of have to be a little messed up when you're joining the Marine Corps. Like, you got to have like a messed up family situation or
Yeah.
something going on. And that's, I mean, it was kind of the case for me too. Like, my family situation wasn't the greatest when I joined.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, screw it, I'm getting out of here. And I left, and thankfully, thank God, I met my wife, and we have our 2 beautiful daughters now. But if I just come back here, and I've told her this, if I just came back here when I was single, if I'd got out as a single man, I would not have been as well off as I am now. I probably just would have been doing the same crap, drinking all weekend, every weekend, and just going nowhere fast.
Mhm.
Man. So what advice, I guess, on the show tonight, what advice would you give to someone who is leaving their service, whether it's, and obviously you can't speak to someone who's made a career of it, but
You'd
someone
be
who's,
surprised.
someone who's
You
been
would.
in for, 2, 4, 6, they've done their tour, so to speak,
Mhm.
like what's one of the first things that you would recommend to someone that's, single or maybe doesn't have any family or comes from a less than desirable family situation before they went in?
I would say find some kind of hobby, find some kind of group and some kind of community you can be a
Mhm.
part of that's going to replace the camaraderie that you're lacking. Because you're just going to feel despair if you don't have anything to replace that with. I've seen a lot of guys get into jujitsu, some kind of martial arts practice, or,
Yeah.
like I'm pretty sure here, the board gamery,
Mhm.
get into a place like that, meet people, find something to do to get you out of the house, get you away from a job. If that's all you're doing is working and coming home, try to stay off the alcohol if you can. I mean, stay out of the
Yeah.
bottle, because that's just going to lead you down a path. And if I had to say anything else, because I am a Christian, get in church.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that, because going to church and finding people that are like-minded or people who you can relate to it's very important, because there are a lot of Christians that are out there that feel that they're alone, especially new Christians, well, I can worship God at home, you can, or I can worship God on a park bench. You can. It's easier though to find yourself in a body of like-minded people with the same goals, the same beliefs, and just really the support that you need. Because as human beings, we're relational, which is, I think, where the can is there a rule against suicide? Can you say that on the air, or do you get? Well, we'll find out if we get bumped or not. But there's probably a direct correlation with that loneliness, because
I
we are
think the
built
word you're looking for is unaliving themselves.
unaliving
Yeah,
themselves.
there
Yeah,
you
I
go.
think that is what, like,
Yeah.
something so ridiculous.
That's the PC.
Yeah, but uh, it's so very important, because again, like I was saying, we're relational beings, and when you find that family in the military, and then that's taken away from you, I mean, that's like ripping a part of your body, from you. I mean, it's almost like a divorce.
Mhm.
When you get married, you become one. When you get divorced, you're basically ripping one body apart. And it can cause extreme emotional damage. And the same thing is being together with like-minded people, going to a church, going to a body of like-minded believers. So you can draw that strength and that support. Because I'm going to tell you, man, sometimes as a Christian, I feel like I'm really blowing it. I do, and I feel depression sometimes. I feel anxiety sometimes over it, and it's just something that weekly trip to church. That's not just so I can stand up there and play drums for other people. It's not just so I can stand up there and make sure that the sound is going right, or
Mhm.
whatever. But it's also for me. Like, I do get a recharge. I do get a fill up from that, so to speak. So I can understand where that would come from in the military, and with the name of your podcast and with what you guys are doing. I mean, it kind of blends in perfectly.
Yeah, no. And I think, like, honestly, as a Christian, if you're not feeling like absolute crap about your life sometimes, I don't think you're doing it right.
It's called conviction,
Yeah,
which a lot of
if you're
people
not
don't
having
understand.
conviction,
That,
I mean, you're, as a Christian, when you're growing in your walk with God, you're supposed to sin less and hate your sin more. I mean, that's kind of the whole point. And
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that all the time. I mean, it's like, holy crap. Sometimes, and sometimes, you get into that shame too, where you don't want to step into church because you think you're not worthy enough or something like that.
Yeah.
And I would just say to just go in there regardless, and
that's a very dangerous spot to be in, for sure. When you feel like I'm not worthy to go to church, you're right, you're not, but get your ass in there anyway.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean,
you need to get the reps in.
Yeah. And I mean, it could be the same thing, with, I'm trying to tie this in with what you guys are doing also. If you're feeling lonely or you're feeling depressed or like abandoned or something like that, then you need to get with people who will, and you have to be careful, because it's almost like you don't want to be with other people who are going to bring you down and pull you into their sorrow soup, so to speak. You want to be with people. Sorrow soup. Yeah. Hey, I coined a new term today.
There we go.
The sorrow soup.
Is this where we pop the streamers?
But I mean, you want to be with people that are going to edify you, bring you up, and things like that. So no, I totally get that. And I'm looking forward to your podcast. I think that it's going to be helpful to a lot of people out there, particularly with the fatherhood thing, man. I mean, in today's, and Mac, you can attest to this also. Sometimes as a dad, my kids are in their 20s now, right? 23 and 26. But even today, sometimes
Man,
I
you're
feel
old.
like I am old. Talk about how old your kids are.
Let's not go there.
But sometimes you can feel like you're on an island as a dad too. I mean, Mac, have you ever experienced that
On an island?
Yeah, you're just kind of out there, like you're just doing your dad thing, and you're not sure if you're
You're
doing
just
it
not
right.
sure where you fit in with your kids?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Even
You'll
at,
get there too one day.
Oh yeah.
yeah, even at
Looking
the
forward
age,
to it.
No, it's kind of like it's how society expects the man to be, I guess, the dad to be, is the provider and not the, I'm not going to say not the emotionally tied one,
yeah,
but it is getting better. Where I'm a man, I can't do any of this stuff. I even tell my kids now, sometimes you just have to suck it up and do it.
yeah. Do you feel that's changing though? Like with today's generation, between the Gen Zers and the millennials, and I think the Gen Alphas that are coming up now, do you think that the viewpoint of a man is changing or softening a little bit?
I wouldn't say a little bit. I'd say it's softening.
Yeah.
And, not to spout my personal opinions, but I'll do it anyway.
You got that?
I don't think
ready?
that's necessarily a bad, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing to act like a guy.
Yeah. I guess I mean more, and I see exactly what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you at all. I'm saying more like the expectation, like when you and I were growing up,
The dad was the provider.
Yeah, dad was a provider. Dad didn't cry.
No.
Guys didn't cry. You're brought up, hey, you don't cry. And now it's like, hey, you're a man. You actually have feelings. It's okay for you to
And I think that's a positive change. That's a positive change. Gentrifying men, I don't think is the right thing to do. I think the whole phrase toxic masculinity just makes me want to rip my whatever hair I have left out of my head.
Right.
Because being a man is not toxic.
Right.
In my opinion.
Toxic is toxic. Whether you're being a man or a woman, toxic is
there can
toxic.
be toxic femininity too.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Across the board.
But I don't think being a dad, being a man, being, for lack of a better word, macho, I don't think that's a bad thing if it's kept within the perspective of what it means, and not, I'm just going to beat up everybody because I'm macho,
the alpha male thing. Yeah.
Right. You can still be an alpha male and still be
a decent person.
There you go.
A decent human being.
Yeah.
And what's kind of interesting too, like thinking about that same train of thought, when you look at some of these people that have committed these horrible acts, right? Like these school shooters, they're never these hyper masculine guys. They're really these weak, shrimpy little dudes that
probably got picked on their entire life.
Yeah, exactly. That's not the embodiment they're giving off. They're giving off something completely different.
Right.
This toxic masculinity crap. I mean,
have you seen Billy Madison?
I have.
Okay. So
where are you going with this?
Well, it's the.
You're not going to talk about Nudie magazine.
No.
Okay. Okay.
No. Just the like Steve Buscemi's character. And he's like, picking people off, and then Adam Sandler like, man, am I glad I called that guy?
When he's sitting there, marks his name off and puts on the lipstick.
Right. So Bill, you're the father of teenagers, right? Or at least one, right? Is your
two?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you ever find yourself kind of on the outside, or does it bother you at all with your teenagers as a dad?
Sometimes. I mean, I don't know. We've always been open and none of the quote unquote toxic masculinity, with the kids. So I don't know. They're both out doing their own thing now. So it's kind of cool.
You're not grabbing your son by the neck and telling him to man up.
No. He's doing a good job.
Awesome.
And then of course there's Julia. She's just always asking for money and wanting to go do stuff. That's the age that she's at. But
Mine's
Man,
26. And,
I feel that.
You know,
yeah, so I don't think we, we don't, we decided to take a different path than the way that we were raised.
I got you. Yeah.
We just got beaten for everything. You got beat if you did it. You got beat if they thought you did it. Like.
Did you ever get the wooden spoon?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't a wooden spoon. It was a piece of wood, but
A wooden spoon. No, my brother and I used to cut up sitting at the table eating, and Dad would come by with his ice cream spoon and, metal spoon.
Yeah.
Whack, whack. It's probably why I'm bald right here at the top of my crown. Spoon beatings.
Yeah. Did you ever get a wooden spoon?
Oh, my mom had a piece of wood that she labeled the
dang.
Board of Education. And when she pulled it out, you're going to learn a lesson.
Yep.
And you learned that lesson, didn't you? So it seems like we were all brought up with, corporal punishment,
But
both
you
from
know
our
what?
parents and in the schools, me for sure. But
And all four of us might have had that, but I can only speak for myself and said that the deterrent was you didn't want that to happen. You didn't want to disappoint your parents.
Right.
And
I just didn't want my ass beat. I mean, that was
you did it. Yeah. You did every day walking into seventh grade. So
yeah. People think I'm lying about that.
You want to get it out of the way now, or do you want it later? Well, let's just go out in the hallway and get it out of the way.
That
it's going to happen.
Literally every day I got a SWAT.
Oh man.
Every day in the 7th grade. He can attest to it.
And he would walk in. He's like, Hill, you want to get this out of the way now or wait? He's like, well, let's go.
What for?
Because he knew he was going to do something that he was going to get one.
Oh, so
he was a bad kid.
It was mainly I wasn't a bad kid. It was mainly
horrible.
Talking. It was mainly talking in class was the biggest thing.
Huh,
I was a bad kid in the 6th grade.
Who would have thought he would have ended up here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Guy who likes talking.
But yeah, so it's funny. Do you feel that you use corporal punishment on your kids a lot?
Now? No, because I don't think once they reach a certain age, and I don't know what that age is, it varies by family.
Right. When did you start and when did you stop?
Define corporal punishment. We talking like belts?
No, I think a belt is a little extreme.
Are you talking hand?
Yeah, hand. Physical punishment.
I did.
When did you start and when did you stop?
Well, I got to put
and
on
do you feel that it was effective?
The Wayback Machine. I didn't have to do it too much. And here's what a lot of people don't, and this may be some advice to you. It's all about consistency.
We're both girl dads. Listen up.
And follow through.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about as far
100%.
as any kind of punishment goes. And you won't have to do it. You have to be consistent. If you say you're going to do something,
do it.
It's going to suck, but you're going to have to do
Yeah.
it to make them realize, okay, if I do A, B is going to happen. I don't have any repercussions to get out of it, so I'm not going to do A. And I think that's a huge thing on kids nowadays that don't respect their parents because whatever the situation is, I'll just use a common occurrence because we were spanked. Everybody says now that, spanking doesn't work. It's just going to make them mean. No, what makes them mean is inconsistency.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion.
Well, I think so.
But to answer your question, I would say, I'm not talking like child abuse. I'm talking a little rap on the rear end to get their attention, which is what I used it for.
Yeah.
And as long as you're consistent, I inherited the look from my dad. So the kids got the look
and the voice.
And they kind of got the,
yeah.
But I was consistent.
Even my kids, when you would like address them or something like that, like Uncle Scott meant business, so.
Well, and again, it goes back to consistency.
Yeah.
And I'm now a big proponent with my kids. And here's something. If you're going to punish a kid, here's why I did this. Or I did this, and here's why.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot I did not grow up with.
That goes a long way. Yeah.
The here's why. And it's huge. And I did it. And I think my kids and I have a good relationship now.
Yeah.
I think we always did, but
Well, here's the thing. A lot of society, and this is where I think that as parents, not just fathers or whatever, I think as parents, I think a lot of times where we fail a little bit is there's this societal belief that I'm your friend.
Mm.
You know, I'm not your friend, and
you can be friendly and joke around with your
Yeah.
kids, but at the end of the day, I'm your parent.
yeah, and I had to tell my kids that. So growing up, my mom just busted our ass. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It could have been the belt, could have been the hand, could have been the closest object she could get her hands on, you know. But many a wooden spoon were busted over this booty, right? So I had made a decision that when I got older, I wasn't going to spank my kids, right? I even told my mom that. Yeah,
How long did that last?
it did in about a year and a half, I think, because I told my mom, we sat down and I told her, and maybe it was over the phone, but I told my mom, I'm like, I think I'm going to have to spank Shelby, you know, because I'm not getting result at all. You know, I mean, she was a kid, you know, but you know, you can't take things away, so you can't discipline by removing things or anything like that. Positive reinforcement wasn't really something that was, you know, taught a lot, you know, back then. And so, but I would find that where I did get results, when she did something wrong, I would tell her, don't do this. Don't do it. Stop, smack the hand. Okay. You know, and just the slight on the rear end, you got a
It's the
10-inch
attention
diaper
getter.
on there, you know,
Right.
but yeah, it's the attention getter. And then obviously when they get older, they're not in diapers. Then the wrap on the rear end stings a little bit, you know, but then it's a matter of you consistency is 100%. You're right on there. And thankfully, I don't feel that I really had to spank them a lot. Did they get spanked? Yes, they got spanked. I can actually remember the last time I spanked my kids. I remember it clear as day. We were living in Seattle. We were in the car, and I told them specifically they kept hitting on each other. And I'm like, stop hitting each other, or when we get home, I'm going to spank you, and you won't be doing it again. Right? Well, they continued to hit each other. So I set the expectation. I think that's the biggest thing right there is setting an expectation. Don't do this. If you do, here's what's going to happen. And the consistency part is, like you said, I told you what I'm going to do. You did what I said not to do. Guess what? Here's what's going to happen.
There are consequences.
You know what you should have done? Octagon fighting. Just
That
lock them in the car, let them just beat each other throughout the car, and whoever, you know, 2 kids enter, 1 kid's leave.
Yeah, that was my
10-minute
dad's
rounds.
approach to things. Yeah, that was my dad's approach to things. He used to let me and my brother fight all the time, man. I mean, I'm surprised we didn't have boxing gloves. I mean, we used to fight all the freaking
That was
time.
great.
But, you know, I think that I will say this, and I think with each generation it changes how we discipline our kids. And I think that's the main thing right there is discipline. Not beat, not spank or whatever, discipline. However that looks, there needs to be discipline because you're right. We're not your friend. You know, I used to tell my kids, I'm not your friend. I'm your dad. And it's my job to make sure you don't grow up to be a douchebag pretty much, you know?
Yeah.
And I just, that's kind of the approach I
on the long
took.
hair hippie part.
No, yeah. Well, here's the thing now. I have a fantastic relationship with my kids right now. Like I don't know that I could have a better relationship, you know, with them on a parent to kid to child level because I think now that we are kind of friends, you know, now I will still tell both of them kind of the way it is. And sometimes they don't like to hear it, you know, but that dad role, you know, still kicks in.
It never goes away.
And it really doesn't. And, you know, I have to say that I'm impressed with the way that Shelby has raised her daughters, my grandkids. She doesn't spank. You know, she doesn't spank. I've got a 6-year-old granddaughter that, you know, I mean, she's great. She's very polite. You know, sometimes you still have to remind her to say please or whatever, but she's nice. She seems to be well behaved, or at least she is when she comes over to my house.
Because she tells her you're going to spank her.
And then, you know, I have my my 3-year-old who she's a little sassy, you know, but my daughter knows how to handle her in a manner that works for them, you know. So I'm not
saying it always needs to happen.
There's a middle ground. Like you spare the rod, you spoil the child. So you got to find that middle ground where you're not. It's not too much, but it's not, you know, where you're just
passive.
letting them run rampant.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing that somebody told me a long time ago, and it happened to me in my life. You go through 3 stages with your father. You idolize, you demonize, and then you humanize.
Yeah.
And you get to that point where you humanize and you realize, holy crap, you're like me. You're just a messed up human, just like I am. And you tried the best you could. And when you get to that point, that's where like the relationship can really flourish. And I mean, that demonized part probably is like teenagers,
It
you
is.
know?
Yeah,
And then
and
you
I-
get to that point where
I think the reason that happens is because you're right. As children, toddlers, we idolize our dads. Okay. Maybe idolize your mom. That's okay too, but we idolize them. Like that's who we look up to. As teenagers, we start to see the faults in our idols. And then we're like, hey, this guy has let me down. He kind of sucks. So I'm going to treat him like he sucks.
Because as teenagers, you're very self-centric.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then as we get older, we say, you know what, this guy, he's flawed, just like I am. We start coming into a self-realization that we kind of suck too, and then we're like, hey,
Oh no, we suck again.
Yeah. And I think that's where the humanized thing, part comes from, because I think you're right there, because there were a lot of things I saw, but my dad and I, you can attest to this.
I've witnessed it.
It was fire and oil, water and oil, whatever you want to call it. There could not be two people that butted heads more than my dad and I did. And it was for a multitude of reasons, doesn't matter. But as I got older, I started to realize, and as I became a dad, I started to realize, maybe he doesn't suck as bad as I thought he did, And then, I start seeing that, particularly when I was younger, and like he would want to do, and my dad loved to fish. Man, that loved to fish. That guy loved to fish. I hated it. It was the worst thing that you could make me do. Like, I am not kidding. It was the worst possible thing you could make me do. But as I got older, I realized that my dad was trying to spend time with me, and that's a very wake you up kind of thing. When you get older, you're like, wow, I really kind of missed the boat on that or whatever. I think I kind of take that away, as being a dad.
I see your point.
Yeah. So
Would this turn into, we're going to teach you how to be a dad podcast?
Well, I want to talk about this because
I'm kidding.
Yeah, these are like real issues, that you guys, will be dealing with. And I think that sharing experiences, the theme for tonight's show was to, kind of promote your show that's coming on, but to kind of tackle these things as well. I didn't want to come on and just say, oh yeah, Danny's got a show coming up here soon. Check it out. Next, I'd like to have some context in that, and open conversations for this also.
And I'm definitely I am open to hearing everything, learning all the knowledge about being a dad. Because I got
there's not a book for it.
My oldest is 3, and then the youngest is 8 months, and I want to be the best dad I can to them.
Yeah,
absolutely willing to hear everything everybody's got to say. And just even going forward, just now with me and my wife, recently it's been a thing where our 3-year-old, she'll get little smacks on the butt too when she's misbehaving all the time. She's got attitude all the time. And recently it's been a thing where I've noticed that the wife, she's smacking her, and like, hey, knock it off. And then she'll come running to me, and I'll be the one holding her and coddling her. And I'm like sitting there thinking like, oh, man, is this going to be like, is this how it's going to be the whole time? Do I need to step in and, because like when I was growing up, my mom was the primary enforcer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because you didn't want dad to do it. My dad only beat me a couple times, and that was enough. To where it's like I'd never want him to freaking take me out to the garage again.
Yeah, I never wanted a discipline from my dad. Like that's not. I never want. When it came to the physical stuff, oh no, my dad had a hand of steel, and I got it up into a pretty older age. So,
yeah, you did.
Yeah.
And as a young boy too, you're getting beat up by a girl. It's kind of emasculating.
Yeah.
Your mom's beating you up.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you, it's probably not your first bit of fatherly advice, whatever. I'm sure you
don't swing at your dad.
Well, so no, but I'm just going to say it's important because I know as a dad that, when mom does a discipline and, the baby comes running to you or whatever, you got to stand by mom though.
Yeah.
You got to stand by mom.
And you can be sitting there holding them the entire time, and you just got to tell them, mom was right. What you did wasn't good.
Yeah.
That's what I've been. I'll explain to her, like, you want to know why you messed up? This is where you messed up.
And that is a huge, obviously your kids want to know they can come to you for that comfort.
100%. Yeah.
But what you're doing is spot on.
Yeah.
We love you. Here's what you did. Don't do it again.
I've told Shelby before what you told me you had said to Caitlin at one point, like, I love you, but I don't like you too much right now.
Right.
You know, I mean, and
That's a
can be
phrase
true
that
statement.
is true.
I mean, that can be a true statement. I love you. Nothing's going to change that. I don't like you too much right now. You know, and comments like that get them thinking. You know, it's like, it's not my job to like you. It's my job to love you. You know, if you don't like me, that sucks for me. That hurts for me. But you know what? That's okay. That's the bullet that I'm going to take for being your dad.
Kind of sounds like something else, doesn't it? If you're talking about faith, it kind of sounds like something, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Well, we were talking earlier about that conviction. You know, that you may feel conviction, and when you feel that conviction, that's the Holy Spirit convicting you. You know, and it's like,
oh, you're going to beat the Holy Spirit into a kid.
And there, people have tried. I don't know about beating the Holy Spirit in, but they tried to beat the hell out of me. You know. Yeah. But no, you're right. There are consequences for our actions, and sometimes those consequences suck, you know, because we made a stupid decision or whatever, you know. But no, you're 100% right on that. So
I saw something recently where it was a video, and it was like, obviously they were older parents. Their kids were like 17 and up, but the dad looked at his daughter and was like, "You know, I love your mom more than you, right?" Like basically like saying like, "Hey, after you guys leave the house, it's me and your mom.
Yeah.
So we come first. Like you guys are a really high priority, but me and mom are going to have to deal with each other after you guys leave."
Yeah. And a lot of people don't understand that. I have seen marriages fall apart with that mindset, you know, because not that mindset, but the opposite, that my kid comes before my spouse. That's a crock, period. And
Speaking
it doesn't
from
matter.
Experience.
Yeah. I mean,
both of us.
It's really not a matter of like bonus kids, biological kids, adopted kids, or whatever. You're right. Your spouse has to come. It should be God, your spouse, then your kids. You know, everyone has a role to play in that. But the thing of it is, a lot of people don't understand that when your kids grow up and they move out, you got to look at each other. You got to live with each other. You got to figure out how to live with each other. But if you set the example for your kids up front, you know, and I try to do this with my kids when it comes to Miss Rebecca, even, you know, her kid or whatever. I want my kids to see how I treat her. You know, I want my kid. I don't get along 100%. I don't ever talk to ex number 2. There's no need for it. I just never do. But, you know, I try and treat ex number 1 with as much respect as I can, at least in front of my kids. And the same thing with Rebecca, because I want her child to know how she should be treated when she gets older. I want her to know how her husband is going to treat her or should treat her. And if he doesn't, canning, you know, make him kick rocks or whatever. You know, same thing with Shelby. I really wish that, you know, I had done a better job of showing Shelby how she should be treated, you know, and Alan about how to treat somebody. So, yeah. But yeah, that's a marriage killer, man. It's a marriage killer.
Well, and I'll just add, you know, from 2 marriages worth of experience that both failed. One just because of being too young, the other one of depression and stupidity on my part. Don't forget why you married each other, why you fell in love. Always make time for yourselves. Don't get caught up in the, you know, I'm dad, I'm mom. Our life revolves around these 2 kids, because that will, to your point, make you forget once the kids get older why you're still there. Always make time for each other. You have to. Yeah,
100%. 100%. And we all play different roles. So when my dad passed away, I'll say this before we kind of close up for the evening, but when my dad passed away, one of the things I mentioned at his funeral is that it wasn't just my dad who died. My stepmom's husband died. You know, my kid's grandpa died. My aunt's brother died. You know, we all have different roles that we play in some aspect. And I think that in balancing that and understanding that is important in marriage also. You know, because I'm not just dad in this family. That's not just who I am. I'm not just dad. I'm a husband, you know, or like a woman. I'm not just mom in his family. I'm a wife. And I think sometimes we lose sight of that, you know, and we don't see that there's this other person that we're committed to, we're cohabitating with, and that we share these children with. Again, it doesn't matter if they're bonus kids, if they're biological kids, adopted kids, or whatever. We have to remember who we are as a couple. You want to remember who you are individually as well, because ultimately I'm a person, I'm a dad, I'm a husband, right now I'm a fiance, but I mean, we all have these roles that we take, and we need to keep those in mind if we want to have a good, strong, structural family. Now, we're all going to screw up. We're all going to screw up, and every family is going to have its own dysfunctions or whatever. But it's very important that we understand and I'm not talking about gender roles, but just who we are within that family unit. I think that's very important, and it's forgotten a lot these days.
Absolutely.
So, comments, Mr. Engineer Bill?
No, pretty much agree with everything that's been said.
That's why we get along so great.
Yeah.
He just says ditto to you all the time. Yep,
Right,
ditto.
Yep. We're
Ditto.
Good
We're
stuff.
good.
Any comments, Engineer Bill? Ditto, Holmes.
Right.
So, all right.
Ditto home.
Dude, I've loved having you sit in this chair tonight.
This chair's
Thank you.
kind of comfy.
It is.
It's a big comfy chair.
Big comfy chair. Yeah, I mean, we haven't shared a mic in it's been a minute. Well, I don't guess we're sharing the mic, but
Hallelujah for that.
yeah.
You
That's
probably got
okay.
onion breath.
I brushed my teeth and mouthwashed and gargled before I got
Listerine.
here, so no no Listerine. It tasted like Listerine though, but it was get that look off your face. So, Danny,
Chicken dinner.
Danny, I've appreciated you being here tonight, man. I'm looking very
appreciate
forward to
being
your
on.
show.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to checking out the podcast.
Yeah.
Really am.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good stuff. We'll have you guys on here, the mostly hockey guys, they're on Thursdays. Now, you guys are talking about Wednesday nights, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Awesome. And pre-recorded. So we'll get you guys in here again, get you and Chris in here again. And the guy you're going to have do your production work over there. You have your own engineer, Bill, but he won't be engineer Bill.
His name won't be Bill.
Yeah. They call me Bill.
Yeah.
But no, looking forward to the show and looking forward to having you guys as part of the GCRX family. I think it's going to be some great stuff.
Heck yeah, we're excited to be doing it, and we appreciate the being able to utilize the space. I mean, it's really a huge opportunity for us.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. We got this window here, and again, we're located right here in the middle of downtown Granite City. It's super nice. We got the Garden Gate Tea Room. We have the board gamery over here, which is really nice, and downtown diner. And the speakeasy, if you drink, it's a really kind of a great place to go. So cool stuff happening down here. The Neon Park's down here now also. Have you seen it yet?
No, I haven't had a chance yet.
Oh, you ought to go. Matter of fact, 8:35, is that when they fire up?
I think so, yeah.
That's too late. That's too close to my bedtime.
Drive by it right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool spot over there. And yeah, a lot of things going on down here. Elections coming up. So guys, make sure that you're paying attention to look at the people that you're voting for. I don't know that we have an official support statement or whatever, but I would encourage everybody, from me personally, when it comes time to elect a mayor, I personally am going to vote for Mayor Parkinson. Again, like I did last time, I think he's done some really great jobs, really great things for the city. I think he's got a heart for the city to see city growth, and I think he's making headway. I think if we want to continue to see positive change, now is not the time to bring in somebody else. I think that we need to keep Mayor Parkinson in for a little bit longer. Anyway, that's my vote. What do you give me the look for? What are you eyeing over
Didn't
there?
you just say 2 seconds ago, oh, we're not going to have an official statement or anything?
Well, that's not from in the Metro. That's from Chuck Hill.
Okay, you might want to make that be
That's
known.
from me. That's my
Disclaimer,
personal-
this is in the thought
Yeah.
processes of Mr. Charles J. Hill Jr.
You want to get my social security out number 2?
Sure, it is.
It's already been hacked. You're good.
Yeah, from the door.
It's already on the dark web.
Yeah, it's already on the dark web.
Yeah.
I just used it the other day. Thanks for the
Sweet.
car, man.
You got a car?
Yeah.
But yeah, elections coming up, and I'm hoping to have Mayor Parkinson on at some point, and we do want to extend an invitation to the other individual. I'm not sure their name right now. The other individual running as well, though. And any public office that comes up, You guys will notice that the 62040 LLC has changed its name to the 62040 2025 election, or April 2025 election. So keep your eye on that. I know that the admins are doing a great job of moderating things and being fair. But yeah, anyway, that's my spiel. We will be back again next Monday, 7:15. At this point, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be. Hey, wake up.
Sorry, I didn't know your spiel was over.
Yeah. But again, thanks for coming on, man. Love it. Love it. Danny, thanks for coming on.
Awesome being here.
Yeah. Engineer Bill, any last words?
Nope.
That was
All
his
right.
last word.
One. Nope.
One.
Nope.
He has the last word, not last words.
Oh.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.